There he is, the star of Tech Tuesday. Hey Chuck, I got a question for you before we actually get started.
Okay.
We had a great show on Sunday. Did you see the Coffee with Conti?
I absolutely did.
I loved all the feedback from everybody. I knew that would get a lot of comments, so let me ask you, sir, the same question, if I may. You're laughing because you know it's coming.
Well, yeah, I'm only.
If you had to buy only one Corvette and it would be the only Corvette you would ever own, what Corvette would it be? You got 70 years of cars to choose from.
I'm gonna need 4 or 5 bags of money.
You could have the fake bag I got up there. I don't know if that helps.
I'm very torn because I like the 60 with the dual head exposed headlights.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like the 63 split window. Who doesn't? Because it's a legendary car that didn't get the props.
Right.
And C7 or C6 era when the ZR1 come out.
I knew you was going to say something like that.
To me, that was the pinnacle.
Yeah.
They didn't need to go any further, but we continued on.
Yep.
The C7 ZR1.
Mm-hmm. Automatic or stick?
Oh, automatic.
Ah, see? It's us old guys.
Well, yeah.
That's what I said, yes.
But, you know, my daddy taught me a long time ago that you only use the clutch twice, and that was to take off and stop, so. Just saying.
You got it.
We drove big trucks, or he did, and he never used a clutch other than to take off or stop.
But that was a good question over the weekend because we've had so many cool cars, and when you think about only one, and then you saw what my answer was, because I'm really thinking about the ownership experience, and that is not to sit around and look at the car, is to really drive it and enjoy it.
I would probably have to go with a C6 ZR1.
Yeah.
White.
Yeah. Oh, white. Oh, all right. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to Tech Tuesday. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm always honest with you and the audience. I'm in a funk right now, man. We've been talking about it off camera, and I appreciate you listening.
Yeah, no problem.
Me to be crying on your shoulder. You know, a little bit of work funk, a little bit of personal funk, and just really trying to get my head right to move forward. We've got a lot of responsibilities. We got a lot to do, a lot I want to do, and sometimes it's hard when you're in a funk. So yeah, I'm kind of in a funk, man. So doing this stuff and talking with you, the audience, and talking about these cars, that is therapeutic to me.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks again for joining us. We got some good-looking cars again for you at the end of today's episode. They are called Your Beautiful Rides. Tech Tuesday questions, continue to email this in. The email address is up on the screen there for Chuck and myself. I do appreciate it. This one comes from Dean. He says, Rick, I really enjoy the channel, especially Tech Tuesday segments. I've got a 22 C8. I know you may have discussed this before. My car has about 3,600 miles, and it's coming up on its 1-year anniversary. You're right, we have talked about it, I'm glad, and we need to continue to talk about it, especially as we approach springtime. So you've had a 22 C8 for a year, you got 3,600 miles on it. I know where he's going with this. My oil life is at 9%. Do I get that full first service done right now, or do I wait closer to the 7,500 miles? You see his head nodding. That is correct. We've talked about it constantly. Because GM has extended it from 1 year to 2 years now on C8 for your first service, it is so important to get as close to the 7,500 miles or the 2 years that you can, unless you're driving like me and you're doing some aggressive driving, then that changes the entire matrix. So where you're at right now, Chuck and I's recommendation is spend a couple $100, go get just the oil change done. But as you've told people, make sure the service writer is not claiming that first service.
Yes, absolutely, because once that's first service claimed, whether you get it or not, the GM's not going to pay for it again. So, make sure that they're not claiming your first service and run that thing out to about 7,400. You don't want to go over the 7,500. Close to 75 as you can get it, and then have the first service done.
Yeah, and you should be on track, because if you're doing 3,600 miles in a year, 2 years you're going to be really close. So don't go over the 7,500, as Chuck said, and then at least you're watching the oil percentage. That's good. I'm sure you've gotten reminders on your app if you have that, or OnStar email, so that's good. So get the oil change done only right now, and then just keep enjoying your car, man. Thanks for watching the channel.
And as everybody knows, another reminder, that oil change reminder is counting down time as well as mileage. So the clock's always ticking, whether you're driving or not.
Good point. Thank you.
All right. This one comes from Brett. It says, hi, Rick. Just encountered a new issue on my C8. The touchpad under the headlight no longer works to open the frunk. However, the remote and the inside buttons work great. Cannot find any information on how this touchpad operates and what may be the problem. Local dealer has no clue on how to deal with it. I took the tub out and plugged the brand new touchpad, part number 85158908, into the connection, and there was no change, so it's not the switch. Would you ask Chuck if he's encountered the issue? Nobody on the Corvette forum has encountered it, thanks. I've encountered one of these, and it wasn't for not opening, it was actually for it opening when it wasn't supposed to. I started a tack case on the GM, told me to replace the touchpad. I'm not sure what you plugged into, but that part number, if they got you the right part, it only has a harness on about this long, and you have to take the front bumper off in order to plug that in.
You want to show them what you're talking about?
Yeah, I've got one here we can take a look at.
Okay.
So
yeah, sometimes we've had a reprogram on this, and sometimes the frunk would be closed and you get messages that it's open, and that was more just a reprogram. So the button, the touchpad, if you will. The
touchpad's right here. The problem is, and you can see I've got this one partially disassembled, so if I take this tub out and set it off to the side, this still does not give me access to this button. Right. Because this button is located right here. The wiring harness comes up and it plugs in about right here.
Right, so now I see why you got to take the bumper off.
Yeah, the front bumper has to come off because you can't get to it.
You can't get to it from there.
No, you can't get in here from here. But yes, the first one I did, I took this touchpad down out of here thinking it connected right here at the pad. It doesn't. It's a wiring harness. The wires come directly out of it. It comes in, wraps around, and into the wiring harness under the bumper about right here. Is where it plugs in, and the only way to access it is to take the front bumper off the car.
Well, maybe that's something he can do too, because there's been programming issues with that and a change from GM, especially in 2020, but it's been constantly updated. Maybe he's got to do just a program update, some kind of a software update.
Could, but like I said, he said he got a new switch and plugged it in. If that's the right part number switch, the only way I know of that you can plug it in is to take the front bumper off the car.
Okay, so you wish him well.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay. You expect nothing less than raw, candid comments. If you're offended by that, thanks for watching. See you later. Well, that's what people want. They want real and they want raw.
Sure.
That's why I'm gonna fall off the thing. I told you
sure there was only water in that bottle?
Yeah, it is. I'm not a drinker. You know that. I told you I'm in a funky funk. Mr. Bass watches the channel. Big supporter. Appreciate that. I actually emailed him back, but wanted to share this for him again and for the audience. He goes, I got a Tech Tuesday question for you and Chuck. I'm on my third C8, you lucky dog. I disconnected my battery to install the red Z button on the steering wheel. There's a quick little picture right there. Looks good. Where'd you get that from? Paragon? Since then, when I close my hardtop convertible, the windows close automatically. The right one drops down 2 inches, and the cycle is not being completed. He's asking about re-indexing the windows. And we've had to do this for several generations. So start the car, take both your window buttons, push them down and hold them. As they go down, push them all the way down, pull them up and hold them up. After the windows come up, keep holding them up. Even after the windows come up, hold them for what, about 10 seconds?
5 to 10 seconds, yeah.
And then let go, and then open your door, and they'll go doot doot, and then close the door again. You'll see that they re-indexed, and it's really that simple.
And if it don't, then there's another issue. But yeah, that's how you index a window.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Rob, for watching. Appreciate it, man.
All right, this one comes from Steve. It says, I have a sweet 2019 Grand Sport, and the passenger side seat back release lever doesn't work. How can I determine the problem and how to fix it? I've had one of these, and I had to take the seat out and take the seat completely apart. The mechanism that the handle goes to on the inside of the seat, the inboard part of the seat, had broken, so it wouldn't work. So seat out, seat cover off, seat disassembled. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Talking about, we might as well kind of segue into the seat issues we've talked about over the years for C7. Memory package guys, if you get into your car, there'll be 2 things that could be going on. If you start your car and your seat's not moving, you're like, what's going on? Sometimes the seat belt gets caught behind that latch right there and it just moves up just a little bit, gets stuck in there. That'll prevent the memory package from working, or like you said, the seat goes back too far on that back pressure plate back there and that switch, that pressure switch. And if you got taller clients and they've got it all the way back, it's not going to acknowledge the memory seat. So sometimes you either rub your hand on that back part or just move the seat forward a little bit, start the car, then the memory package will acknowledge itself.
But if he's talking about the mechanical release, which it sounds like he is, it probably something broke inside the seat back.
I know what he's talking about. I was just trying to do more C7 conversation. We got so much freaking C8 stuff.
Yeah, well, I know.
All right, here's... Is this the one you did? Okay, that's the one you didn't want to do. Sorry. He is the star of Tech Tuesday. It's like, no, I'm sorry. My agent says we're not going to read that one, but I will. This one comes from Scott. It says, hey, Rick and Chuck, thanks for all you do. Out of all the Corvette content channels on YouTube, I find myself getting more useful information, advice, and genuine excitement about the car from your channel. Here is a potential Tech Tuesday question for you and Chuck. I'm a first-time Corvette owner, purchased a UC8, get the violins out, okay, he's got the PPF and everything, okay, that's fantastic. The question is, he has competition seats in that car right now, and he wants to convert them to a GT2 seat. Is there an easy way to do that? No, there really isn't. Does not mention here, wanted to see, does not mention what package he has. So, depending on what package car, if you got a 1LT, 2LT, 3LT, I'm assuming that you probably have a 2 or a 3LT. That's really the bulk of what's being ordered and sold out there. So you need to find a comparable car in a GT2 seat, VIN number. Take it into your General Motors, your Chevrolet parts department. Have somebody that knows what they're doing and can break down that schematic, and then order all the GT2 pieces, parts that you can. And once you get that seat, it's going to be quite a bit. Once you get it reassembled, why I say you want to stay in the same packages, so that way the plugins will still work. So if you've got memory package, you've got heated seats, vented seats, those will all still work on the GT2 seats when you put in, because the GT2 seat is a 2 and a 3LT availability anyway. So I don't know what you have in the comp sport seats. Those can be bought on a 1LT. So be careful in that regard. But really, that's the only way to get it. Maybe look at some parts warehouses. Remember when there was the tornado from Bowling Green? Some guys had brand new seats from those 22s. There was like 100 and some cars. I almost got one to make an office chair out of it, so there's an opportunity there. You're gonna have to do some digging. It's not impossible. It's gonna be expensive, but make sure you do it correctly and safely, so your airbags are plugged in properly and all that kind of stuff that you have on the side of the seat. You don't want to get the seat assembled and then forget one little piece or something, and all of a sudden you got messages up on the dash because the airbag's not being read on the side of the seat. So good luck to you on that.
All right, this one comes from, looks like Helder.
Okay.
It says, hi Rick and Chuck, I took my 2022 C8 for the track alignment in a Chevy dealership. When I went to pick it up, I had washers in my cup holder. So I reached out to the mechanic and he said for track alignments, the washers need to come out. In the videos and the Corvette forums, the washers seem to relocate and not removed. Can you please reach Chuck and ask him? Well, I pulled this up. I already knew, but I pulled it up on the wheel alignment specs, and then the special note here at the very top, it says for track use on FE3, FE4, and Z51 suspension, the following repair instructions for the front and rear upper control arms for removal of the fasteners and washers between the body and the upper control arm. Relocate the washers between the fastener head and the control arm. Then after track use, reinstall the washers between the body and the upper control arms. This will return to factory settings.
I don't see anywhere on there it says give washers to customer.
No. I mean, really what you're doing is you're taking the control arms have a spacer, okay? You got the bolt that goes through the control arm, then spacers, then the body. So you're taking this bolt out, taking the spacers out so that the control arm goes up more to the body to give you the more camber.
Camber adjustment.
What GM recommends you do is you put those washers on the back side or the outer of the control arm instead of the inner control arm. I assume just so that you don't lose them. I mean, that don't do anything. So you could relocate them. That way when you want to put them back, it's just a matter of taking the bolt out, taking them off this side, putting them back in. They recommend leaving them on the car, I would assume, so they don't get lost.
Sure.
But, I mean, either way, they don't have to be on the bolts because you're taking them, what you're doing is you're taking the control arm that was spaced out away from the body and you're matching it up against the body. So they want the spacer to go from here to here. So if the spacers just aren't there, I guess, let me rephrase that. I could see why you would want to move the washers here because you don't want the bolt going any further.
Correct. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, they should have been relocated from the inside between the upper control arm and the body to the outside of the control arm on the head, so that the bolt had the same amount of travel. So yeah, they shouldn't have been put in the cup holder.
All that brain damage is why I'm not touching my alignment. I want to do tracking, but I'm not going to be that serious. I'm not going to not do competition. This is real brief. This is from Richard V. in Purchase, New York. One Chuck says he's got a lot going on here, Rick. I don't know. He says, thanks again for the videos on Tech Tuesday. I really appreciate it. He goes, I've got 795 miles on my 23 C8. I was doing highway speeds about 75 to 80 miles an hour. The display screen went blank and 2 yellow warning symbols popped up on each side. Continues to talk about that. He goes, maybe after 30 to 45 seconds, everything came back, so I figured it was an over-the-air update. You wouldn't get an over-the-air update when you're driving. You have to prompt and instruct it, follow the instructions, and then leave the car at the right time, or you'll break the communication and you'll get no update. So you won't get an update while you're driving. So I'm glad you mentioned that. He goes, after a minute or two, the same thing happened again. He goes, after the second episode, I received a message about the power steering system. Then I drove another 20 miles home and maneuvered the car into the garage, but that was fun, without power steering. I didn't get anything from the OnStar app. If it's mechanical, not electronic, you won't get anything from OnStar, so that's important to know, so I'm glad you brought that up. Chuck and I did talk about this before we went on air today, and because you have a number of things going on, get it to the dealership. You got to get the coach checked on that thing. Because of the power steering issue, again, it could be mechanical, but it also could be electrical. The first thing we did when these screens were going blank, and we've talked about it before, is we were opening the door, leaving the door open for 10 to 15 minutes until all the lights inside went off. We were putting the car to sleep. Close the door, reopen it, start the car again. Sometimes that was a nice, easy way to reset, especially in an emergency situation if you're out stuck on the side of the road. But regardless, doing that, if it works or not, you still want to have that car checked, have the coach checked, because they're still there in history, as Chuck tells us all the time, and they could throw another issue in the future. So that's not really fixing the problem. You got to identify why those codes are being thrown.
Exactly.
You got another one there, bud?
Yes, this one comes from Carlos. I have a Garage Queen, a C7 2017 Z06 with 2,500 miles. The only thing I've done is change the oil every year. I make an appointment to change all the fluids due to the years. Can you please once again list all the things I should change? Appreciate your feedback. On a C7, you're going to do a fuel induction service, a brake fluid exchange, a coolant flush, a rear diff service, and either a manual or an automatic transmission flush, either or, depending on what you have. And I would probably have the alignment checked on it as well, because everybody knows tires aren't cheap on a Vette, and alignment's way more cheaper than tires.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
good advice.
Yep.
Fantastic. That's all for the questions. Continue to get those in. We're going to have a special Tech Tuesday for you guys. Back at what our focus seems to be, and that's the market. So we go with the hot hand and what you guys want to know about C8. This will be about my C8, because in a few weeks I've got a road trip. I'm driving it to Houston and back. And when I get back, because I'm going to be in the upper 30s as far as percentage on the transmission fluid, and I've driven it on track, so we're not going to wait till the 3 years or the mileage that they talk about. And I'll be about 30,000 miles when I get back from Houston. Chuck and I are going to do a complete, not a top off, we're going to do a complete transmission fluid flush and change, 2 filter change, and share that with you on the channel. That'll be really interesting, and I really don't want to do it because I got to pay for it. So, but I told him today, I said, hey, I'll make about $30 or $40 on the video. This will probably cost me close to a G, but let's do it anyways. It'll be good content, and I'll just write it off. But no, seriously, I am always thinking about content, and nobody, I don't think, has shared that yet. No. You know, I've talked about the top off and talked about adding the 2 quarts. We had the fun little thing with the box and the planks a couple of weeks ago, but changing that out, I want you to see how involved it is. That's what we're up against. But the great value story with Chevrolet and the Corvette is the dealer network that you have all across the country. These guys that have these McLarens and have to ship them 2 states away to get serviced, and your car's gone for a month, not with a Chevrolet product. Okay, so keep that in mind, guys. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for the support. Thanks for understanding sometimes that our heads get to be scrambled eggs in the funk, as I say, and I do that just so you know, because I've had some people say, hey man, you seem like you're off your game a little bit. It's like, yeah, well, we got a lot going on, but I have a lot more going on, and I just, in my heart, I'm trying to get that right too, and that's really all I want I want to say about that, as open as I am with you guys, there's some stuff I don't want to get into, but you just need to know that we care about you, and I thank you guys for caring about us.
Yeah.
All right, so before we go, we got to show off some cars. Chucky, what do we got for them now?
Your beautiful ride.
Yeah, baby.
Too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one, and I can't wait to see you hindsight is fleeting when your heart's bleeding and all you can see is red, till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead, 'cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one, and I can't wait to see you again. Oh, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, 'cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you